This is Matthew Cratter's Bitcoin University. Today I want to talk about the digital prison walls closing in. In 2025 here, we're seeing a remarkably rapid global push to censor and lock down the internet, in particular social media, messenger apps, and other places that people gather online to express their free speech. Now, whenever governments want to take away more of your freedoms, there are two main approaches that they always use to drum up support and turn people into emotional puddles that will do anything that the government tells them to do. It's always an external threat like terrorism or weapons of mass destruction, as it was in Iraq, WMDs, or it's something like sexual crimes against children. How would you like this wrapped? Control of internet speech, anti-terrorism, protect the kids. I think this is a very telling cartoon. Now, the UK Online Safety Act uses approach number 2 and seeks to exploit our very healthy and righteous desire to protect children from sexual predators and violence. This is the Online Safety Act of 2023 that's currently taking effect in the UK. It gives the Secretary of State there the power to designate, suppress, and record a wide range of online content that is deemed illegal or harmful to children. Now, does the UK government actually care about children and young girls? No, because if it did, Prince Andrew would be locked up in chains in the Tower of London for the rest of his life for what he did to this girl and probably other girls. And also something would be being done about the child rape gangs, these poor people who are then victimized by police after being victimized by these gangs. As Sammy Woodhouse shares here, as we try to share the horrific stories of child rape and the government cover-up, the UK's Online Safety Act, put in place by our government, has done nothing but silence the victims. This is the very same government that claimed to launch a national inquiry and whose leader said that speaking out about the abuse of children is jumping on a far-right bandwagon. The Online Safety Act is not about protecting children. It's about the UK government seeking to claw back control of the flow of information so that people are not free to discuss controversial issues, come to their own conclusions, and organize online, but rather are forced to accept government narratives which make it much easier for the government to exploit and control the population. If you're finding this video interesting so far, I just ask you to help to support this channel's educational mission. Hit the subscribe button. That does really help. Leave a like, leave a comment, question, suggestion for a future video, and share this video with a friend or family member. We're also seeing similar laws being passed in the US. As this account as Libs of TikTok reports, ironically, you get support for this authoritarianism from both the left and the right. Libs of TikTok reporting here that Ohio has now become the latest state to require age verification for adult websites, shall we say. The law will go into effect this September. Huge. We must protect the children. Of course, we must protect the children, but the best way to do this is through parental guidance, not through doing mass surveillance on the entire population. To be very clear, I'm against porn and think it's a corrosive drug that rewires the brains of young men in really bad ways. But I think this is a matter for parents, priests, pastors, educators, not governments. And if governments actually cared about the sexual exploitation of children and young adults, they would not be covering up the largest underage sex trafficking and blackmail operation in American, probably world history, which is, of course, the Epstein files. Today in Ohio, age verification is for porn sites. Tomorrow, age verification and facial scans will be for sites that have Second Amendment content or political content that the state government of Ohio disagrees with. This is the slippery slope that always takes place. Age verification, facial scans, forcing people to have to upload their ID in order to access a website. These are already widely required in the US, ironically, by Bitcoin and crypto exchanges, but they really are just the tools of authoritarian governments like the CCP. Here's Clint Russell pointing out about this Ohio law. The latest push for internet ID to quote-unquote keep kids safe from pornography is simply a backdoor to obliterate anonymity and to ultimately enforce hate speech laws and censorship. These people don't care about your kids. It's about narrative control. Don't be fooled. I think that is true. And this, as we were saying, this is the stuff of authoritarian dystopias like is taking place in China. This is a great account to follow on X, Song Ping Gong. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. In China, your facial recognition is your digital ID. Facial recognition required for applying for phone number, bank accounts, digital wallet, everything. Once you are blacklisted by the social credit system or flagged as an enemy of the state, you can't buy anything with a digital wallet. So what we see here is the coming together of biometric scanning, digital ID, and then using it to police access to the internet, to banks, to even stores, everything you need to survive. Here's where all of this is actually leading, I think. A little bit of background. During the COVID pandemic, global governments succeeded quite well in locking down and controlling people all over the world. The one weak spot was the internet, where in spite of lots of deplatforming, there was still lots of online dissent that made it impossible to control the minds of everyone. Because when people can speak with each other and compare notes online, it becomes much more difficult to sell them blatant lies like, quote unquote, masks didn't work last week, but they do work this week, or, quote unquote, safe and effective. Now, in 2025, something big is almost certainly brewing, and this time around, the authoritarians want to make sure that they can lock down as much of the internet as possible. Things like Wikipedia, obviously many, many years ago, captured and controlled. Legacy media and their websites already captured and controlled by the state. They become just megaphones for the state, as we've seen over the past two administrations. Social media lockdowns happening now, private messenger app lockdowns happening now. We can see Signal, which is a messenger app, warning that they will exit Australia if forced to hand over users' encrypted messages. Why in the world does the Australian government need to pry into privacy like this? It's for their own surveillance purposes and to be able to try to control the narrative as they did during the pandemic. Locking down broad swaths of the internet, social media, messenger apps is part of a greater plan to control the population both online as well as offline. And this involves central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, internet passports of some sort, which we're already basically seen in the UK, vaccine or medical passports, as we've seen in the past few years, movement passports, also known just as passports, they've been around for a while, social credit scores, and now even pre-crime scores, as Palantir has been working on for the past few years. Palantir isn't just tracking you, it's modeling who you might become. Their software is used by ICE, cops, Intel, and child welfare agencies to predict risk. That's AI-driven pre-crime, and it's already a reality. And then I like what Laser writes here. The public has no idea how dark this digital identity reset is. Everything you do will be indexed by companies like Palantir, for example. Everything you do will be scored. Permission to access goods, services, and travel will be automatically determined. Permissions replacing rights, a future of cattle. I think this is the correct context in which to view things like the UK Online Safety Act. You have to put it into its context. Another post from Songping Gong. China updates social credit system to incorporate central bank digital currency. Now minimum social credit score of 650 needed for buying food in the supermarket with facial recognition payment. It's all fun and games until your social credit score doesn't permit you to buy food. This is where we could end up. And here's something that Resist CBD is sharing on Twitter. This is from either the UN or the World Economic Forum, showing how digital identity will be used to control populations and control their access to social platforms, e-commerce, travel and mobility, food, financial services, healthcare, etc. This is a very, very dark future that they have planned for us. How do we resist? We resist in many different ways, both in meat space and online. We resist by using freedom money and learning how to use it in a self-sovereign way, which is, of course, Bitcoin, unstoppable money, unstoppable payments, and money that cannot be debased or frozen, and other freedom tech, for example, like Nostr, which is really unstoppable online free speech that doesn't have a centralized point of failure like X does. So be sure to follow me on Nostr if you don't already. This is an easy way to access it. You can also download the Primal app on your phone or the Damus app, but this is an easy way to access a web version of my Nostr account. Just primal.net/Crater. If you want to learn more about how Nostr works, I'll put a link to this video in the description notes below. And I wanted to end with this post from The Real Inspired. Chilling. The next 5 years will decide everything. By 2030, you'll see entire populations digitally imprisoned in failing cities or thriving sovereign communities beyond control. Most people won't wake up until it's too late. 2025 to 2030 decides which side you're on. And I think this is indeed true. The very important thing to take away from this video is this, though. We cannot allow ourselves to be trapped in a digital prison where meat-based services, in other words, real-life services, can be locked down based on our online behavior or speech. Such a global digital prison, especially if it involves speech and money and access to food, housing, etc., such a global digital prison, if ever fully implemented, could be impossible for us and even for our descendants to escape from. So get yourself some Bitcoin, educate yourself, learn how governments use things like the UK Online Safety Act to take away people's freedoms and move us closer to a digital prison. Get yourself some Bitcoin and also learn how to use freedom tools like Nostr. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video, and let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.